worries. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to SFC's Food for Thought series. My name's Hannah. I'm a third-year student at U of C in Natural Science, and with me today I have Lyndon and Justice. If you guys want to go ahead and give yourselves an intro, that would be super.
Yeah, my name is Lyndon Bredner. I'm just finishing up my degree at the U of L in history after 5 long years. I've been with SFC for the last 2 summers, and yeah, really excited to be with you today.
Yeah, just a quick intro for me. I'm Justice. I went to the University of Alberta for business, majored in finance and minored in economics, and I've been working with SFC for the past year and a half, I guess. So excited to listen to Laura and her presentation.
Perfect. Thanks so much, you guys. So for anyone that's just seeing SFC for the first time, we are an advocacy group that's made by students and young professionals for students and young professionals. And we believe that Canada can have a strong future in resources, the economy, and the environment. So please feel free to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And they're all at Students for Canada if you want to learn more about what we do. Yeah, that's all. And today we have Laura MacTaggart joining us. So Laura works as the Community Mobilizer for the Energy Futures Lab, and for short, that's EFL. She's a social innovation, good grief. It is a social innovation lab that supports technical and social change in the energy transition. Laura is a master's candidate at the University of British Columbia in Indigenous Community Planning and has an interest in facilitation and community engagement with rural, remote, and Indigenous communities. So after 2 years as a fellow with the EFL, Laura joined the staff team to assist with the lab's ongoing truth and reconciliation journey, Energy Futures Roadshows, and youth engagement. Laura is from a small farm near Lacombe, Alberta, and currently resides in Vancouver. Thank you so much for joining us today. And just before I get started here, our word of the day is farms. So if anyone wants to DM that, then you can get some free swag from us. And just a reminder, this is being recorded. Please drop questions in the Q&A box below, and I will hand the floor over to Laura now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that great introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Laura MacTaggart, and I'm calling in today from the traditional territories of the Squamish and Lil'wat First Nations. I'm in Whistler, and I'm here for a conference and really happy to be joining you today. And I have a few slides that I'm going to pull up here, and I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. There's my email. Here we go. On to my slideshow. So today, I'm really excited to be talking to you about collaboration and its importance in addressing complex energy challenges. So I'm speaking today both from my role as Community Mobilizer in the Energy Futures Lab, but also as a student as well. So as I mentioned, I'm currently located in Whistler in the traditional territories of Squamish and Lil'wat First Nations, but I live in Vancouver, which is the unceded ancestral territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And as you can see here on the screen, this beautiful map shows the overlapping territories of Indigenous nations across the country and into the United States. And this is from nativeland.ca. This is a great resource, this website, to find which land you are on. So I would highly recommend, if you have a chance, check out nativeland.ca, type in your location, and it'll help you figure out where you're at. And happy to have people joining us today live and afterwards from across the country. So thanks for listening in. So a little bit about me. As mentioned in the intro, I am working for the Energy Futures Lab, and my passion is working with people in the energy transition. So how do people interact with energy? How can people contribute to the energy transition? I love running in-person community events. I love facilitating. I love playing games with adults, playing games with kids, and having some fun and having the opportunity to innovate. I previously was a fellow with the Energy Futures Lab, and this was at a time when I was working as the Provincial Green Initiative Coordinator for the Alberta Native Friendship Centres Association. And that's the provincial office for friendship centers across Alberta, and they're the main program and service providers for urban Indigenous peoples in the province. And so at that time, I was working with them on some energy efficiency conferences and got involved in the fellowship at EFL and got to learn and innovate with other leaders across the province. I also am a student, like many of you tuning in live or after, and I'm really excited here to be engaging with other students. I'm wrapping up my master's at UBC in Vancouver, and it's a master's in Indigenous Community Planning. So you might have heard of urban planning before, and what I've had the real unique opportunity to do is learn specifically about planning with First Nations. And this picture here is taken at Hamalko First Nation, which is near Campbell River on Vancouver Island. And I did my year-long practicum with them, helping them on their comprehensive community planning. I also have a background in this blurry picture, but it's one of my favorites, so I had to include it, is I have worked in parks for a long time. So I did several years working as a parks interpreter, a park ranger, which is shown here when I was a park ranger up in northern Alberta. Here I am out on a bit of a hike on one of my breaks. And then I've also worked in park maintenance. So I really enjoy any opportunity to get out camping and hiking and exploring our parks across Canada. So if there's any park lovers or outdoor enthusiasts in the audience, happy to have you here. So now let's dig into a bit of the meat of today's topic about keeping people first in the energy transition. So what I've found in my work is that there's a lot of excitement about technology, in whether it's when we're talking about climate change and climate solutions, or specifically about energy. And people are really excited to start implementing and sharing a new and innovative technology. But what sometimes gets left out of the picture is the human impact that this has. If we're bringing this into a community, what's the impact that will have on the community? Is that really what the community needs? Have we talked to them? Also, really important when we're talking about the energy transition and creating valuable solutions is bringing different voices together. Making sure that people who we might not originally think about have the space to share and add to the conversation. And this is where the Energy Futures Lab is really a leader. So in the picture that you see here is fellows from one of our workshops last year in 2021, gathered together for a 2-day-long session in Alberta and to talk about solutions, coming from various backgrounds, various places across the province, bringing various skills and abilities to innovate. So what is the EFL? The Energy Futures Lab was created in 2015 amidst a growing sense of polarization in the energy industry in Alberta and across Canada. So what's unique about the EFL is that it brings together diverse stakeholders from across the energy system to collaborate. And these different perspectives help to address complex system level challenges. So today, polarization does remain a key issue, but we are excited that Canada and many other countries are taking active steps to address and work towards a net zero economy. So we are at an important moment in history where the decisions we make today will directly impact our shared energy future. So we're very fortunate at the Energy Futures Lab to have a lot of partners who have been on this journey with us. And we're always excited to have them join in at our large workshops and contribute to our work. So what's unique about the Energy Futures Lab is its ability to bring together so many different stakeholders into the same room. So we have at the moment 45 fellows, and they come from backgrounds in oil and gas, renewable energy, clean tech, information technology, finance, from Indigenous communities, from not-for-profits, from provincial and municipal governments, and others. And we have a shared vision at the Energy Futures Lab for approaching an equitable and just net zero future. And our vision and mission and what we do at the lab is co-created by the people who are in it, so by our fellows. So you might be wondering, okay, who is in the Energy Futures Lab? So here's our organizations that are represented. And as you look through the list, you'll notice just how diverse it is. We've got the town of Hinton, University of Alberta, the RBC Foundation. We've got ConocoPhillips Canada. We've got Canada Natural Resources, ATCO, ATB Financial, Alberta Innovates, and so many more. So if you're wondering a little bit about what sort of projects or innovations are coming out of the Energy Futures Lab, here at the moment, we've identified 4 key areas for our innovation challenges. So we bring together members of our staff and members from our fellowship to address these 4 key areas. The first is financing the transition to future fit hydrocarbons. Another is digital innovation for communities in transition. Next is one that I get to work on, is rural community resilience in a low carbon future. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on. And then also we have leveraging energy transition to overcome barriers for marginalized communities. This last one, we've been doing a lot of work in this area over the past year and a half, and really excited about some of the work that's coming out of this, both to address how we work with our fellowship and also how the lab staff and the lab as an organization works, and how we can be more equitable in the way that we operate and look at equity and supporting marginalized communities in the energy transition. So lots of interesting stuff happening there. We also have impact studio projects. So these are shorter projects where we look to address explicit challenges or initiatives in the energy system. So a few examples of this is the grid sandbox. So looking at modernizing our electricity grid as we increase electrification of vehicles and increase demand for electricity. We also have the Youth Seed Fund. So this was a grant fund that we offered for youth innovation projects. And we also hosted a youth innovation jam afterwards. And I'll share a bit more info about that later. Another thing we have is an Energy Futures print portfolio. And this is really unique, pairing scientists or energy innovators with artists, and to create a print portfolio bridging art and technology and science. We also have work that's happening at innovating in sustainable aviation fuels. So the Impact Studio, there's always new projects coming in, and sometimes when a project is wrapped up, we'll graduate it. So lots has happened since the EFL started, and this area is always evolving depending on what's needed at the time in the energy system. So now I want to share a few key points and lessons learned from my experience of working in community in the energy system. So one thing I want to highlight is when working with community, it's so important to meet people where they're at. So this can be both physically meeting people in the spaces that they occupy. It can also be emotionally or mentally, meaning the energy transition impacts different people in a different way. So if someone is having a reaction to a technology or an innovation that you're proposing for their community, it's important to take a step back, be patient, and try to understand where they're coming from, because there may be something that we're not recognizing and how this is impacting them. And mentally, it's important to meet people where they're at, because we're all experts in different areas, and we may not be an expert in energy. And so if someone is frustrated with something we're proposing, it might be an opportunity to pause, take a step back, and offer a bit of education to them. So I want to highlight an example here, which is shown in the picture. This is from my time of working at the Alberta Native Friendship Centers Association. We had the opportunity to host an energy efficiency conference for urban Indigenous communities. Now, we had thought maybe we should host one big event in the middle of the province, Edmonton or Calgary, and we can sponsor people to come from across the province or invite them to buy tickets and come and attend this event. But then we thought this might create a barrier for people who live in our more rural and remote communities to attend. They might not feel comfortable coming into the city. There might be quite a high cost financially to drive there, get a hotel. And it might be kind of isolating if they have to come alone. Maybe they would rather have an event near their own community and they could bring family and friends. There might be people in the room that they know. So that's what we decided to do. So instead of having one large conference in one of our major urban centers, we decided to host 5 conferences, each a bit smaller, in communities across Alberta. So we were up in High Level, we were in Pincher Creek, we were in Bonnyville, Edson, and Slave Lake. And this was really neat opportunity because we had kids come out from the schools with their teachers, as shown in this picture here. This was at our Edson event. We had elders come out. We had presenters who were from the area. And that was really neat because they were able to build partnerships with people at the event who they would see again. At this particular event in Edson, it was really, really cute when the youth came. They saw one of the elders who helps out at their school. And right away, they came up to her, gave her a big hug, and sat all around her. And she came and sat right in the front row. And I can't help but wonder if we had encouraged people to travel from where they're comfortable, where they feel safe, and come to where we are in the city, would that have changed who would have came or how they interacted when they got there? I think so. Here's another picture from this event. In the checkered shirt is Maggie Hanna, and so she's a fellow at the EFL still and works in hydrogen. And we have 2 other presenters. This is our panel discussion. And again, this was such a celebrated event and it had so many lessons learned. And when I think about youth and students and creating change in the future, so important to think about where we offer that change. And if we're wanting to engage with communities, it's sometimes important to take a step outside of our comfort zone to meet people where they're at. Another thing that I've learned is so important is not to forget about the youth. A lot of times we think about adults, and I say adults in quotation marks, as being the experts, and it's important for them to share their years of knowledge and wisdom with those who are younger and mentor them to become the leaders of tomorrow. I would challenge this, and something that I've learned is that there is wisdom in all ages: youth, children, adults, seniors. We all have something to offer, and we all have a unique perspective depending on where we're at. So it's so important to have events and engage and look at creating solutions that includes youth voices. The picture you see on this slide is from the Energy Futures Lab Youth Innovation Jam that happened in May in Calgary at the Ampersand Center downtown. And what this event was, it had an opportunity for youth to bring one of their innovations to the event, to host a table discussion about it and have fellows from the Energy Futures Lab and staff come and sit with them, as well as other youth, talk about this innovation and offer support or ideas on how to take that idea to the next level. So examples of this was a group with sustainable products, hygiene products for women. There was also a group with sustainable clothing company. Lots of neat projects there, and it was really cool to see after how excited the fellows who attended were, and so blown away by the amazing ideas that the youth had, and how energized they felt by the inspiring words and ideas that the youth had. And it really brought back to them why they do what they do. And it re-energized their work going forward. And they could not wait to have another youth event so that they could check in with them again. Another thing that's important in the work we do in the energy transition space, and also I think any space, is a chance to make it fun. So often we think as work as being work. And we must not be getting anything done if we're not sitting at our computer, answering emails, having phone calls and meetings. But I really challenge this, and it's a great opportunity to learn and to help others learn if it's fun and enjoyable. So one way that you can do that is actually by making a game. So what you see here in the picture is a game offered by the Energy Futures Lab called the Newtonian Shift. We offer this at some of our workshops for new fellows. We do this at our Energy Futures Roadshows, and communities can also request to have the Newtonian Shift game come to their community and go through it with their staff or community members. And in this game, people do role play, and they have a chance to act out a role in the energy system, whether it's a mining company, a steel company, a First Nation, or something else. And so for several hours, they go through the game, and it goes through time and the energy transition, and people have to interact with others. And what you see coming out of this is a really deep understanding of the roles that are required in the energy system. And people really gain empathy for other roles that they maybe didn't understand really well before. I remember when I first played the Newtonian Shift, I was acting as someone from a coal company. And this was at a time when I was working for the ANFCA, which is an Indigenous nonprofit. And I remember at the end of this game having so much more empathy for the role that the coal company had in this game and also in our system. It really helped deepen my understanding. So where possible, I highly recommend that people take a look at, is there a game you can make to support education or work? And games aren't just for kids, they're also really great for adults too. Another thing I love in terms of making it fun is creating space for creativity. What you see here is from our energy efficiency conferences that we held at with the Friendship Centers. And instead of having regular cloth tablecloths, we had paper tablecloths, and we had packs of colored markers at each table. It was really interesting to see that some people who maybe didn't feel as comfortable putting their hand up, asking questions, or verbally contributing to the conversation really enjoyed writing things down, making notes, or drawing pictures. And this group of 3 youth had been so excited and had drawn on their tablecloth all day, used all the colors. At some points, you could see them taking everything off the table so they could rotate the placemat around and color the other side. They were making sure that there wasn't any food or drinks getting spilled on this tablecloth. And at the end of the day, they were really proud of it. And what I've learned from this is that people will share and contribute to our conversations in different ways. Just because someone won't answer a survey or verbally offer deep reflections or contributions doesn't mean that there's not a way that they can contribute. And one way is through art. And so this was a really neat teaching moment for that. And finally, I want to emphasize the importance of collaborating with rural and remote communities. In the energy transition, so much of the energy work and what is felt from the transition is felt in rural and remote communities. So many of our mines, of our oil and gas offices are in small towns or remote locations. However, a lot of our main business offices, a lot of money, and a lot of power positions and decisions are made in cities. So there's a real disconnect between these two locations. And this is what the Energy Futures Lab works to address with their Energy Futures Roadshows. And this is an area that I'm really lucky to work in. So the community you see on the screen is Rainbow Lake in northern Alberta. So if you travel north of Edmonton up to High Level and then west, you'll reach Rainbow Lake. And the community of Rainbow Lake participated in our Energy Futures Roadshow last year in 2021. And what we were able to do with them is host several online workshops. Unfortunately, we weren't able to attend in person because of COVID. Normally, we do in-person events. So we held workshops with the community, as well as helped establish a key working team at the town and looked at what's the future of Rainbow Lake? What's the vision for the community? What do they want? What we found was that the community was really passionate about having a sustainable economy. The oil and gas sector has been volatile for the past several years and is really felt by people who work in that field. And the people of Rainbow Lake really did not want to have to move away to find work. They wanted opportunities there. So part of this roadshow was to find out what opportunities could be viable in Rainbow Lake, and can we help to make connections and make that happen. So we had fellows participate in this roadshow, offered presentations and insights. They connected people from Rainbow Lake to their networks. And there's some really exciting stuff coming out, some really neat initiatives, one of which is looking at establishing some geothermal power for the community. And that's got people really excited, feeling really proud, and also innovating for the future in a northern and remote community, feeling like they too can be a leader. And there's so much more coming from Rainbow Lake, but that's not my story to tell. And so I'll leave it at that for where they're at in their journey. But I would say stay tuned in the news and in your reading, keep your eye out for what's happening from Rainbow Lake. There's a lot of big things up there. And at the lab, we were really excited to work with them. So our road shows, we've worked with several communities in the past. So the Crow's Nest Pass, Hinton, Grand Prairie, Red Deer, Devon, Drayton Valley, Whitecourt, Athabasca, Rainbow Lake, Brooks. And this year we're going to be working with the town of Innisfail, which is on the Highway 2 corridor between Red Deer and Calgary in Alberta. And what we're really excited to offer with these road shows is the opportunity to bring people together in these communities, bring in experts and innovators, and offer the opportunity to innovate for that community and create change in that community. Sometimes what we've heard from rural and remote communities is we have passion, we have ideas, we just need someone to believe in us. We need someone to come out and support us and help us get to the sustainable future that we want. So that's what we hope to address with our road shows. This year, as I said, we're going to be hosting several workshops in person, which we're so excited about in Innisfail. And we will be sharing that on our social media. So stay tuned for findings and events there. There might even be the opportunity to come out. So if you're looking to learn, if you're nearby Innisfail and you want to check that out, check out the Energy Futures Lab on social media. And I'll share those links at the end. So just to review, in working in the energy space and working with community, I shared a few key lessons that I've noticed as being important and really contributing to successful collaboration to make meaningful change. The first thing is looking to meet people where they are at. That could be physically in the spaces they occupy, or being patient and kind where they're at emotionally or mentally. Next is don't forget about youth. When you're looking to create change, wherever possible, bring youth into the conversation. It's youth's future, and they have so much energy and excitement to be involved. Wherever possible, make your work fun, whether it's offering markers and being able to color to be creative, or having some games to learn. We're so much more excited and bought in, and make so many more deeper memories and connections when we've had the chance to laugh and have fun. And finally, it's so important to collaborate with rural and remote communities in our work, and to remember them as being key players as we look at a sustainable and equitable energy transition. So I want to close with just saying that our energy system and the challenges that we face to meet net zero targets are complex, and they cannot be faced alone. It's so important to collaborate and bring diverse people together and make partnerships to make lasting and meaningful and sustainable change. So if you want to learn more about the Energy Futures Lab, you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn. We've got lots going on. Today, I was only able to skim through a few of our initiatives, but I'm happy to answer any questions in the Q&A, or you can reach out to us online, and my information is available online as well. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll close there and welcome any questions from the audience. Thank you.